welcome to Day Home Divas. I'm Joanne.
I'm Cash.
This episode, we are talking about the recent measles cases here in Alberta. So, according to Alberta Health, there have been confirmed cases of measles in public settings while the individuals were infectious. AHS recommends that if you were at any of these locations during the listed exposures time and are not fully vaccinated, you may have been exposed to the measles.
March 8th, 2025. Flair Airlines flight number F8629 from Toronto Pearson International Airport to Calgary International Airport. Exposure time period 9:12 p.m. Eastern to 11:57 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. 4 hours and 45 minutes. March 8th to 9th, 2025. Calgary International Airport, YYC, and Budget Car and Truck Rental Calgary International Airport. Exposure time period 11:55 p.m. from March 8th, 2025 to 2 a.m. March 9th, 2025. March 8th, 2025. Airdrie Superstore. Exposure time period approximately 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. March 9th, 2025. New Horizon Mall, Sky Castle Family Entertainment Center and Cafeteria. Exposure time period approximately 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. March 11, 2025. Airdrie Urgent Care. Exposure time period approximately 3:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. March 11, 2025. Tabor Health Center Emergency Department. Exposure time period approximately 5:30 p.m. to 8:15 p.m. March 11, 2025. Tabor Shoppers Drug Mart, 5800 46th Ave, Tabor. Exposure time period approximately 6:15 p.m. to 9 p.m. March 12th to 13th, 2025. Tabor Health Center Emergency Department. Exposure time period approximately 10:15 p.m. March 12th, 2025 to 10:50 a.m. March 13th, 2025. March 12th, 2025. One Health Associate Medical Clinic, 836 1 Ave Northwest, number 201, Airdrie, Alberta. Exposure time period approximately 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. March 12th, 2025. Bell River MediCenter Family Health Care Clinic, 16703 82nd Street, number 102, Edmonton, Alberta. Exposure time period approximately 2:15 to 5:15. March 14th and 15th, 2025. Rexall, 16703 82nd Street Northwest, Edmonton, Alberta. Exposure time period approximately 2:15 p.m. to 5:15 p.m. March 15th, 2025. Stollery Children's Hospital Emergency Department. March 14th, 2025. 8440112 Street Northwest, Edmonton. Exposure time period approximately 10 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. St. Therese General Hospital Emergency Department, Vermilion. Exposure time periods February 15th, 6:39 p.m. to 11:12 p.m. February 26th, 4:05 p.m. to 7:35 p.m. March 3rd, 8:46 p.m. to March 4th, 8:41 a.m. Okay, March 5th, 2:50 p.m. to March 6th, 12 a.m. March 9th, 5:58 to 11:49 p.m. St. Teresa General Hospital Diagnostic Imaging. Exposure time period February 15th, 7:41 p.m. to 9:59 p.m. February 26th, 4:47 p.m. to 7:29 p.m. February 28th, 10 a.m. to noon. March 5th, 8:30 p.m. to 10:35 p.m. March 9, 8:04 p.m. to 10:37 p.m. St. Teresa General Hospital Acute Care Unit. Exposure time February 15th, 9:12 p.m. to February 18th, 5:28 p.m. February 26th, 5:35 p.m. to March 2nd, 7:09 p.m. St. Teresa General Hospital Pediatric Unit, exposure time period, March 4th, 6:41 a.m. to March 6th, 11:59 p.m. Anyone who attended these locations at these times who were born in or after 1970 and has less than 2 documented doses of measles-containing vaccine is at risk for developing measles and is strongly encouraged to review immunization records and monitor themselves for symptoms of measles. Measles is extremely contagious disease that is spread easily through the air. If symptoms of measles do develop, stay home and call HealthLink at 811 before visiting any healthcare facility or provider, including a family physician or pharmacy. Symptoms of measles include fever of 38.3 degrees or higher, and a cough or runny nose and red eyes, and a red blotchy rash that appears 3 to 7 days after the fever starts, beginning behind the ears, on the face, and spreading down the body, and then to the arms and the legs.
So when it comes to illnesses, obviously childcare settings along with schools, playgrounds, grocery stores, and so on are germ fests. Kids are going to get sick, but keeping them safe is a provider's top priority. Every day home provider and daycare center will have their own sickness/illness policies. There are the basics. Children must stay home if they have fever over 100 degrees or 38.2, I think it is, Celsius, vomiting, diarrhea, pink eye, lice, and unexplained rash. Then there are the extras that are a bit more complicated, like hand, foot, and mouth, chickenpox, the flu, and now the measles. A child is most contagious with hand, foot, and mouth disease during the first week of illness, but the virus can remain in the body and spread through stool for several weeks after symptoms subside. A child is contagious with chickenpox from 1 to 2 days before the rash appears until all the blisters have crusted over, typically within 5 to 7 days of the rash's onset. A child with the flu can be contagious starting about 1 day before symptoms appear and for up to 5 to 7 days after becoming sick, with the highest risk of spreading the virus during the first few days of illness. A child with measles is contagious for about 8 days, starting 4 days before the rash appears and ending 4 days after the rash first appears. So, what if your child is just not feeling well, no specific symptoms? What if they have a lingering cough that won't seem to go away? What if they have a runny nose but no fever and are happy playing? Then it's up to the provider, center, or school's individual policies. Some are more flexible than others, especially when it comes to day home providers. Then it will depend on the provider's comfort level and situation. If they have their own infants or young children, or if their family member has a compromised immune system, their policies may be stricter. It's a difficult balance for day home providers when it comes to sickness policies. On one hand, we want to ensure that we keep sickness or illness out of the day home. And on the other hand, if we tell parents their kids have to stay home every time they have a runny nose, parents would never work. So we have to trust that the parents are being honest with us when it comes to their child's health. Now, I know there may be some listeners that are thinking, what do you mean? Of course, parents would be honest about their child's health. But unfortunately, that's not always the case. Personally, I feel really lucky. It's been many, many years since I've had a parent like drug and drop. And for those that don't know, that's when a parent gives their child Tylenol or something similar before they drop them off because their child is a little sick, but they still need to go to work. So they don't tell us that they're sick and they hope the Tylenol holds out for the day. There are quite a few providers that have had this happen to them regularly, and it's unfortunate. It not only isn't fair for the child, but you also risk not only your provider getting sick and having to close because of it, but you put all the other kids at risk too. One of the big reasons parents drug and drop is teething. This is a controversial topic at times, mainly regarding fevers. So fever can occur during teething. However, according to the Seattle Children's Hospital, fever is not a sign of teething, but a symptom of infection. These infections typically occur more when a child is 6 to 12 months of age. This coincides with the age where most children begin teething. So I think that's where some of the misinformation regarding the fever with teething comes from. So there are two main reasons why teething and infections occur at similar times. Increased exposure to new pathogens at 6 to 12 months of age. The infant is sucking and chewing various objects as they explore the world by putting things in their mouth. This exposes them to new pathogens. Loss of antibodies. When infants are 6 to 12 months old, they begin to lose antibodies that their mother transfers to them during birth. This means their immune system has to respond to more infections, such as colds. So, to summarize, fever may occur around the same time as teething. However, fever is a sign of infection rather than a normal symptom of teething. They often feel warm when they are teething. It's not a true fever. Infants younger than 3 months of age, fever is a temperature of 104 degrees Fahrenheit, so 38 degrees Celsius, and higher. Older infants and children, fever is a temperature of 101.2 degrees Fahrenheit, so 38.4 degrees Celsius, and higher.
Just to add on the fever too, we had a doctor tell us that it's also pain related. So it's not just you don't just get a fever because they're like the teething part of it, it's they're in pain, it's moving, it hurts, and it activates their immune system and everything that causes the fever.
That's a good point. It's funny because I often see people comment that they caught teething, quote unquote, right? So a child's brought to their day home and they're teething. And so the parents say, well, they have a fever, but it's just teething. And then the next thing you know, the provider's sick with a fever. But I think there's so much going on. I know when I have a toothache, my whole world is coming to an end. Like I cannot handle break a bone, not a problem. Toothache, absolutely not.
Well, and
So
that's just how a doctor explained it to us when we went
yeah.
because my son was starting to teeth at only 6 weeks old.
Oh no.
So the drool and everything, and he said the fever will, like if there's no other symptoms, obviously, but he said
Yeah,
like the fever will is usually just pain related. It's an immune, and he's like if you looked at yourself when you're in really a lot of pain in something, you probably have a higher fever than you normally would.
that makes so much sense because I actually defend parents all the time with the fever because, like I said, tooth pain for me, absolute no. And so I'm like, of course they like it hurts, right? You're getting teeth. Teeth are breaking through your gums, and that is painful.
It is.
So it makes sense that their body goes into not shock, like as medically defined, but
Well,
shock, right?
and
Like
it's your
it's,
pain tolerance, right? Like I could sit through a tattoo and take a nap, where some people sit through a tattoo and it like are cringing on the edge of their seat. So it's their
yeah,
pain tolerance and it's just how they take it in.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. I always laugh when people are so nonchalant about the teething, and so I'm like, that just no. Ow. That's all like as soon as the mom is like, oh, they're teething, I'm like, oh my, oh no, I'm so sorry, sweetie. I'm like, what can I do to make your day better, right? Because
Well,
it's
and
just,
that's why I'll always tell them like, do I want to give them Tylenol right away? No. I will let them see how it goes with the teething. I'm like, but you bring that Tylenol because if they need it, I will
yeah,
gladly give it because teething is not easy.
right? Oh, I mean, when I go to the dentist for a cleaning, I get the gas because I'm like, don't even try and get near my mouth without the gas, right? So if I had to like grow new teeth now as an adult, oh hell no. Give me all the medicine you can give me because
Well, and I'm in Invisaligns, right? And I got them because I have TMJ. So every time I would get a cleaning, I would lock my jaw
oh
and I
no.
couldn't open it or anything. But now
Yeah,
because they're moving all my teeth, all my gums are exposing and it hurts like hell. So I'm popping Advil before I go and clean my teeth.
right? Oh my goodness. Oh, I can't even imagine. I've thought about Invisalign, but now you're telling me that I'm like,
I have pretty high pain tolerance though. So like it's not as bad as it really seems. It's just you really got
yeah,
to be consistent with it.
I have good pain tolerance when it comes to broken bones, but touch my teeth, man, and you will drop me like a baby.
I used to live in the hospital, so I know what broken
Yeah,
bones are like too.
right? Just not the teeth. Nope. I am a infant. No, thank you. I'll just keep rocking my English teeth and be just fine.
Well, that's what someone told me. They were like, you can tell when someone's from the British side because their teeth are horrible. And I was like, well, if that's the case, no wonder why my teeth were horrible because I have a lot of British on my side of the family. And I was
Yep.
like, I never looked at it like that, but coming from like another British person and then like you saying it, because I was like, I wouldn't go out and just say, oh, you're British, you have horrible teeth. But I was
Yep.
like, you saying that, I was like, well, when you say it like that and you put it like that, I'm like, that makes sense.
Okay. So it's important for parents to check with their provider or center as to what their policies are before signing the contract from the very beginning and make sure that that works with your family, especially when some providers are a lot more strict, right? You got to make sure that you're not gonna, 3 months in when your kid's sick, be like, no, no, I have to drop them off, and the provider has a really strict policy, then you got to make sure it's going to work for you before. When your child first enters into childcare, they often get sick quite a bit. This is very normal. They've spent their first year being sheltered from everyone who is sick and as many germs as possible. The toys they put in their mouth are their own toys and most likely haven't been in anyone else's mouth. Then they're exposed to other children all day who have their own germs and their own outside care germs. We do our best to make sure that we remove a toy right away when it's been in a child's mouth, but realistically, we probably miss 75% of them. We're only human, and kids are fast, man.
And they like to share. So it's like, let me
They
take a bite here and pass it over to you. And it's like,
exactly,
no.
yeah. And it's hard to on the one side because they are being so good with sharing in moments like that, right? So you're like, no, don't share that one. Like, trying to make it not so confusing to them,
Or
right?
it's like they find someone's cup and then they know it's not theirs and they want to give it to the person that it is, but they'll take a drink first and then give it to them. And you're like, why? Why?
Every time. Okay, I am so glad that's not just my kids. They see it, they pick it up, they take a quick sip, and they're like, here, this is yours. I'm like, you just drink out of it.
Yes, but and then like they'll do it back to each other, and I'm like, why? And sometimes
Yeah,
I'm just like, I give up. Like,
yeah,
what? I'll wash this cup 10 times a day, 20 times a day, because I'm like,
right. We are building your immune system, man.
we sure
You're
are.
welcome.
Well, I remember with my son, we were in like a Walmart or something, and he had those soothers, the Wubba Nubs, and he was only like a couple months, 6 months, 9 months old, and he dropped it out of the cart. And I literally just picked it up, rubbed it off on my clothes, and put it back in his mouth. And some lady's face like dropped, and she's like, "Are you not going to clean that?" And I was like, "No, it's not dirty." And she goes, "But it touched the floor." I'm like, "How is he going to build his immunity though?" Like,
Right? I mean, we used to like, so when mine were little, if they dropped their soother on the ground or whatever, I would put it in my mouth to clean it off and then give it back to them because that's just what we learned from, watching our parents or whatever do it. I like when you think of stuff like that now, you're like, huh, so I took all the germs. But I mean, I never got sick from cleaning off a soother, right? Like, I don't, 5 second rule, I guess, right? And how
but
quickly are these
I
germs
was like,
transferring, right?
back then, like, I don't know if I would really do it now, but I was like, they have to build their immunity somehow. And I'm like, like literally, he dropped it. I picked it up, checked it, and gave it back to him. It's not like I left it there, let him step on it, and then
Right? You pick it up, there's like three hairs stuck to it. You're fine. Like, it's good.
I'm like, I'm one of like these germaphobe people. Like some things I'm just like, we can't do that anymore. I'm like, so for me to do that, it's okay. I'm like, we'll be
Yeah,
good.
right. So it may seem overwhelming and a little scary at first, especially for new moms, but exposing your child to a variety of germs, especially in early childhood, can build a stronger immune system and potentially reduce the risk of developing allergies, asthma, and other autoimmune disease later in life.
The hygiene hypothesis. Suggests that the modern emphasis on cleanliness and reduced exposure to germs may lead to underdeveloped immune systems, making children more susceptible to allergies, asthma, and autoimmune disease. Exposure to a diverse range of microbes help the immune system learn to distinguish between harmful and harmless substances, allowing it to respond appropriately to future infections. Children raised in environments with higher levels of microbial exposure, like farms or homes with pets, are less likely to develop allergies or autoimmune disease. There are benefits of germ exposures. It's called immune system training. Exposure to germs helps the immune system learn to recognize and fight off infections, leading to a stronger and more resilient immune system. And I have to say, like, I agree with it because my daughter just started school this past September, and she's maybe been home once sick the whole
Yeah,
time. My son, the same too. Like, they rarely get sick.
exactly.
So, picking up his soother off the floor worked.
Right? Nailed it.
Early exposure to microbes may help prevent the development of allergies and asthma by promoting a more balanced immune response. Development of the diverse microbiome. Exposure to a variety of germs contributes to the development of a diverse microbiome, which plays a crucial role in overall health and immunity. The old friends hypothesis. Some research suggests that exposures to certain microbes that have co-evolved with humans, known as old friends, are particularly beneficial for immune system and development.
So it's important to remember, though, not to deliberately expose your kids to certain germs. While some germ exposure is beneficial, it can be harmful to expose to dangerous infections. This is referring to such things as chickenpox parties. So I remember when I was little, my sister and I had chickenpox, and everyone on the street brought their kids over so that they would catch it too. Chickenpox party, right? So the theory behind it wasn't wrong per se. It is much better to have chickenpox as an adolescent than as an adult, but it's even better not to have them at all, right? So it was kind of a outdated practice, I think. You can still get chickenpox even if you have been vaccinated. It's supposed to be rare and known as a breakthrough chickenpox, uh, but it's usually milder than in unvaccinated individuals with fewer blisters, lower fever, and quicker recovery. However, both my kids were vaccinated and both still had chickenpox. And even though my oldest did have a mild case, my youngest was not so lucky. He was so covered in them, you could not put a finger between spots any place in his body. I have never like I had chickenpox as a kid, not like that. It was the freakiest thing, the poor kid.
And see, as a kid, I had it so bad that I even still have scars from it. And then
Same, I
I
have
gave
one
it
on
to
my
my
nose.
mom, who was pregnant.
Oh no.
So it went through our house, but I think that was before we got vaccines for it. So it whipped right through.
Yeah, I asked my mom if I had been vaccinated against it, and she says yes. But then I'm like, okay, but I was born in 78. So I guess it kind of depends when the vaccine came out. But I had it as a kid. I also had measles and mumps as a kid, which like you're supposed to get your MMR, right? So measles, mumps, rubella vaccine.
Yeah.
But so who knows if I was vaccinated or not? No idea.
Well, I don't think it came in right away because I was born in 87 and I know I didn't have it till later.
Oh, okay.
So I think it just came in, but it depends on where you were born in that, right?
Yeah,
Different.
so I was born in the UK.
And I was
So
born out in Montreal, so it's totally different
yeah.
things behind it, but I had it so bad. Like I almost had it in my eyeballs.
Oh no.
And then I
Yeah, I
gave it
think
to my sister and I gave it to like
oh,
everyone in my house and then my pregnant mom. We actually might we kind of wonder if that's why my brother's autistic
oh, interesting.
because having chicken pox while you're pregnant is actually very dangerous.
Yeah. Did you guys do a chickenpox party then?
No, just the people in
Just
our
the
house.
in-house one? Yeah.
Just like, the lice that comes home too.
Yeah. Oh, knock on wood, I'm afraid to say it, but that has not shown its head here.
I make
No
sure
pun
that my
intended.
kids have the special shampoo at least once a week to make sure that it stays away. Because I
Oh
was like, if I
goodness.
have to cut my hair, I'll be mad.
Right? Oh,
Not mad at them, mad at the situation.
oh, exactly. Yeah. Oh, of course. No. How dare you bring lice into my house? Right? That makes no sense. Illness does not necessarily come from the childcare setting itself, so it doesn't mean that the setting is unclean. The amount of parents that will say, my kid got sick from daycare, it's not daycare or day home or whatever. That's not where your kid got sick. Your kid got sick because there's outside germs that come into the space. We cannot control who patient one is, right? Like, or patient zero, whatever it is. We don't know who that is. You never know. And it could be your kid got sick from the grocery store on the weekend, but since it signs didn't show up until Monday when you got home
Yeah.
from childcare, right? So there's no way to ever know specifically where they got sick, but I can tell you the one person that does get sick from day home all the time, provider. That's the only person that actually gets sick from
Especially
the
those
day home.
runny noses. And I'm like,
Yeah,
no,
right.
I don't
We
want
live,
it.
yeah, we drink emergency, right? Like that drink. That's I have that before my tea in the morning. That is daily routine. That's how we stay not sick.
Well, and like I explained to my parents, I'm one that will take a cold. As long as they are active, they're eating, they're healthy, like they're walking around.
Yeah,
As long as they're totally fine, I will take a cold, a runny nose, a little bit of cough, because like I explained to them, it they were contagious and they grabbed it a couple days before they actually showed up.
yeah,
And I'm like, they're already exposed everyone. It's already going to go around. It's literally
yeah,
just going to be the individual kid's immune system that will tell you if they're going to have the cold or not. I'm like,
exactly.
so honestly, as long as they're good to go, I'm okay with it, even if I
Same,
suffer down the road.
right? I mean, honestly, if we sent them home every time they had a runny nose, we'd never work, right? I mean, they constantly have runny noses. So,
Well, and like I've been lucky, like with that one parent, right? Like the kid was perfectly fine. We thought it was teething. Like she'd grab her mouth all the time, so we thought it was just teething. And then she started grabbing her ear. And I was like, the moment I said that I think she has an ear infection, her mom booked appointment and kept her
yeah,
home the next day. Now, ear infections are not contagious, but the virus that causes them is contagious.
yeah,
So I'm like, so she had a virus that her body never really exposed it to.
yeah.
I'm
And
like,
I
but
mean,
no one
like,
else caught it either. So like,
exactly. And colds can just like appear in kids in so many different ways, right? They could have a cold, they show no other symptoms, but they're just not really hungry.
yeah.
And that's the only way. And because some kids' bodies handle colds differently, some kids can have a cold, and I always say it, they have a man cold.
Yeah.
Because, like they get like minimal symptoms, but their whole world is coming to an end. And that's fine. That's how that kid handles their colds. That's all good. But then some kids they power troop right through it and they're like, nah, runny nose, who cares? I got this. Right? So it's
Well,
so hard to tell.
and relearned a couple months ago, I think, before Christmas with my daughter, is that also ear infections will show up as a bellyache.
Oh, that's
She had a double whammy ear infection. Did not complain once about her ears, nothing. But she wasn't
yeah,
really eating and like she just looked off. And I was like, "No, we're going to take you in because she was just sleeping, lethargic and everything, but her belly hurt." And the doctor
that's
said, "We
weird.
don't know why it happens, but a bellyache will associate with your ears."
That's so weird. Good to know though. Like who would have ever thought that, right? Like, oh, kids, they're just They're just different. They have so many
Well, and I was
unique
like,
little tendencies,
it's
right?
so weird because she's had an ear infection before and she lost it because her ear hurt and she was covering it and she was doing all the normal stuff, right? And I'm like, and
Yeah.
now I bring her in and like he said it was almost on the verge of rupturing her one eardrum. That's how
Oh
bad it
my
was in the one
goodness.
ear. And I was like, she never complained about her ears though. I'm like, she
Yeah.
complained about her stomach. And he goes, it will show up as a stomach. He's like, I don't
Wow.
know how or why, but it will come out as your stomach.
Yeah. There are other kids there that bring in germs and illnesses from their outside world. Older siblings in school, grocery store, a door handle, a parent. Basically, they can be from anywhere. So sometimes people are asymptomatic, so they carry and spread the illness, but don't have the symptoms themselves.
And I could tell you with the asymptomatic, when I was pregnant, I was worried about hand, foot, and mouth because you know how slap cheek is very, very dangerous for a pregnant person as well.
Yeah.
And the doctor told me that when you work with children, you have already caught hand, foot, and mouth. You just don't show the symptoms.
Oh, like
Because I was like, I worked with a ton of hand, foot, and mouth. I'm like, but I
yeah,
have never, ever had any symptom. And I was like, I've touched it. I've done everything
yeah,
with it because I was in the baby room. It's very common for babies to get it. And she
yeah.
said, no, you probably already had it. You just never showed the symptoms of it.
Oh, that's why I was so speechless there, because I'm like, that was the one thing. I'm like, I've had it in the day home, but I've never had it myself. I'm
My
like,
son brought it
oh,
home and his dad caught it,
oh no.
whereas I've never caught it. No, no fever, no nothing.
Yeah, I had one of my day home parents, like, so their kid had it, obviously, and then the dad had it, and he had it so bad. And he's like, the kid's not even that bad. Like, the kid had like one or two spots, his entire mouth, like inside, outside his face. He's like, I'm not going to work like this because I look ridiculous. I felt so, he's like, I can't eat, I can't drink. I am so sick with this. And I don't mean to laugh at him per se, but I was like, there's like a man version of hand, foot, and mouth.
That
He
was his
took like
dad
a
too.
whole, yeah, he took a whole week. And the mom was like, seriously, he is laid in bed all week. I'm like, he's got a man cold for his hand, foot, and mouth.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had
she,
that was the one question I asked because I was like hand, foot, and mouth, like, and that's where it kind of differs between doctor and doctor, right? My
yeah,
doctor told us that it's only contagious when it pops and that stuff comes out. But then we've
yeah,
had other doctors tell other parents that as soon as the fever hits, you're contagious.
yeah.
So I was
I
like,
had
I
a,
need to know.
yeah, I had a parent say their doctor said, oh no, hand, foot, and mouth is not contagious at all. You're fine. I was like, you may need a different doctor for sure. I understand like the differences between like, oh, when the spots are there, when the spots are not there, but it is highly contagious.
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's not necessarily harmful for kids. Like it's not, it's just one of those childhood things that kids get. It's not necessarily harmful for the child, but it's still highly contagious. And it can
Well,
just keep going around and around. Like,
it's just like our chickenpox,
yeah,
right? It was very common for us back in the day to catch chickenpox, where now it's not as common to catch chickenpox, but hand, foot, and mouth.
yeah. I wonder if there'll be a vaccine for that,
There should be.
right? So we do our best to help prevent the spread of illness, if for no other reason, but because having six sick kids, that makes our jobs harder. So it's a lot easier to keep the space clean than it is to have six kids all day, especially if we are sick too. So if the sicknesses that keep going around within your day home or your daycare center, it's not for the lack of the provider trying to get rid of that. What I just want to make clear that we don't enjoy having sick kids in our care because it makes it like 10 times harder for your day, right? So we are constantly cleaning stuff and putting everything they've touched in the wash, everything, how many times Lego has gone through my dishwasher. We clean stuff as much as we can to try and help with that. So if kids are getting sick, it's not us. Sniffling,
And
sneezing, headaches.
they're also they're cranky. right?
Yes.
Even though they're running perfectly fine as if they were normal, they're still cranky and then they don't want to eat or they just want cuddles and it's like we're only one person.
Yeah, it's the extra sensitive is how I try and explain it. They're extra sensitive today,
Yeah.
right? Like they're still happy and playing and stuff until one kid looks the wrong way at another kid, or the blue ball rolled too far, or whatever, and
Or
then
someone
meltdown.
breathed.
Yeah, they coughed near me, right? Then full meltdown.
Oh yeah, I've
But
had
then
one
two
that just
seconds
goes,
later, they're
"She
playing.
looked at me. I don't want her looking at me." And I was like, "She's just staring. Turn around."
Yeah, that makes your day hard, right? Like all that extra sensitive behavior from the kids. So we try everything we can to get rid of that, to keep those sicknesses away. Sniffling, sneezing, headache, and scratchy throat sounds like a cold, or it could be allergies acting up. This time of year, the source of the symptoms can be tough to figure out. It's not always easy to tell the difference between allergies and a cold. And if you don't know what's causing the discomfort, it can be tough to know if your child can still attend care or not. Colds and seasonal allergies can feel pretty similar, and indeed, they do have some things in common. Both colds and allergies are caused by an invasion of what your body perceives as a potential harmful substance. With colds, that substance is a virus, but with allergies, the substance is an allergen like pollen, mold, or dust. Onslaught of symptoms experienced from the cold or allergies is the immune system's way of trying to fight off those invaders. And in both cases, it's common to have congestion, sneezing, a runny nose, and scratchy or sore throat, as well as headaches or sinus pain. How did the symptoms start? Colds tend to come on slowly, usually over a couple of days, and allergies kick into gear as soon as they've been exposed to an allergen.
And
Are
I
they?
have allergies, so that's why sometimes I kind of tell them, let's wait and see if it's a
Yeah,
cold or an allergy because I can just walk out my front door and I'm sneezing,
right?
I'm doing everything, and I'm like, ah, I
Yeah,
hate this.
and like with the seasons as well, right? Like spring is a big one. As soon as that snow starts melting, the snow mold, oh, it's
I had to
brutal.
go out and shovel my backyard just because then it kind of one part of it doesn't get enough sun because of the spring transition. So like
Yeah,
I had to shovel it all to the sun to get rid of it so that way it dries it up faster and I don't
yeah,
die of it.
yeah. I spend my whole winter moving snow around in my backyard, and I've even started, this is how lame I am. I even started filling up big giant tubs with snow and letting it melt down and then filling it up again and melt down. I'm like, I'm gonna water my front yard with this snow. But I also just want it out of my backyard because we have a north facing backyard. So it takes forever for the snow. Like we'll have snow in May, like in the backyard if I don't move it. And I'm just like, we want grass. So I'm out there with my shovel, and then the kids like to pick up the big chunks and they take them. It's a whole thing. But
Well, and I went out just the other day to do it, and my eyes were like almost swollen shut. They were massive, they were itchy, and you have the voice going, and I was like,
yeah,
ah. So
right.
I usually tell them give it a day or two to actually see if it's allergies, because obviously if it's allergies, it'll go away. If it
Yeah,
continues, then it's probably not allergies.
yeah. So are they itchy? Itching, especially in the nose, eyes, or throat, is often classic signs of allergies, but it's pretty uncommon for a cold. Do they have a fever, body aches? Colds can cause both, but allergies don't. How long have your symptoms gone for? Colds tend to clear up within a week or two, but if your symptoms stick around for weeks or even months, allergies is probably the culprit. Allergies and colds have totally different causes, so one can't morph into the other. That said, you could still end up with both at the same time, right? So if you're suffering from allergies, doesn't mean you can't catch a cold.
Well, and I feel like with kids, we also have to remember when it comes to the sinuses and the eyes, is that their nasal passages are a lot smaller than ours are. So when they
Yeah,
have all, like, especially allergies, when they have all that stuff that's going in there, it's not clearing out as fast.
Right.
So even if they could have allergies instead of a cold, but it's taking longer to come out because there's just too much there all at one time.
Yeah, exactly. So while colds and allergies have similar symptoms, their treatments are pretty different. For allergy relief, start by minimizing their exposure to the allergens that spark your symptoms as much as possible. Like it's obvious, but it can be so hard, right? If you're allergic to outside, basically in the spring, right? You
Yeah, like
can't,
I have popular trees right down the road from my house that I like to take them to the park because I like, you know how everyone's about all about nature, right?
yeah,
And yeah, it is nice, but like I take them to this park that has nothing in it. So they actually get to go use their imaginations by like going into the trees and making little tree forts, and they grab
yeah,
sticks and they make little fires out of them. Not real fires, but like they're
yeah,
pretend fires. I'm like, they actually do that stuff. And I was like, but I die because those trees kill me as soon as I get out
yeah,
there. But we need to go out. We can't stay home the whole time. Like they need the
exactly.
outside. They need the sunlight.
Yeah. So this means keeping your windows shut, staying indoors when pollen counts are high, leaving your shoes outside, and using HEPA vacuum cleaners to keep your home allergen free. Sometimes you have to resort to oral medications like Claritin, Benadryl, that kind of stuff. Realistically, we do what we can, right? For ourselves, for the kids, we try as hard as we can to make sure that they're not suffering. Unfortunately, I feel like it's something within our environment, like within Canada specifically. Like you said, the poplar trees and all that stuff. Allergies are just something that everyone has to deal with,
I'm
unfortunately. And
Canadian and I'm allergic to maple trees, so
oh no. See, I didn't have, when I lived in England, I didn't have asthma or allergies at all. And it wasn't until we moved here that I developed asthma and the allergies, and they just got kind of worse with age. But so it's definitely an environmental thing, you know.
well, and your body changes every 10 years.
Oh, good, more could be coming. Oh no.
Because I was never allergic to anything either. Like, and then I had the allergy test, and I'm like allergic to the popular. I'm allergic to maple. I'm allergic to penicillium. I'm allergic to dust mites in my house. And I'm
Oh
like,
no.
what?
Right? Oh,
Where'd this come from?
yeah. So I always personally follow the rule that clear snot, especially if runny and accompanied by sneezing and itchy eyes, is definitely allergies. While a runny nose can also be a symptom of a cold typically causes thick, discolored mucus, so you like yellow or green later in the illness, whereas allergy-related mucus tends to remain clear and watery.
The yellow and green usually is an infection.
Yeah. And like with allergies, it starts instant, right? And it's like a faucet, and like it literally is just like water dripping out of your nose. Like you can't, it doesn't just linger there on your face like with kids when they've got like the green, right? This is gross, but like that kind of lingers a little bit longer. This just continues to drip down.
Yeah.
One thing that I have noticed and that I point out to parents when they're like, we don't know if it's allergies or a cold, I'm like, is their shirt wet? Like, is the front of their shirt wet? And they're like, what? I'm like, well, it drips somewhere. So it tends to drip down onto their shirt or like their sleeves, right? Like, what color is the drag marks on their
Yeah,
sleeves?
I have the ones that go like this, and then you
Yeah,
have it all across their face and in their hair, and I'm
right?
like, oh,
Yeah.
whatever.
And I mean, this sounds gross, but this is our lives. This is what we deal with Monday to Friday.
Right
So
across
just,
my face. And I'm like, really? Like,
yeah.
couldn't you just,
And the little girls with the hair
yeah,
and
and then
oh,
all nice and hard, and you're like, I can't give you a
yeah,
bath to get it out.
right? Yeah, and all the babies, like the little girl babies, have to have that one ponytail on the top of their head, kind of keep all the hair out of their nose. Ah, poor girls. So the sad thing about the measles making a comeback is it's so unnecessary, right? We've had a vaccine for the measles since 1963, so we shouldn't be seeing it back. And we wouldn't be if not for the decline in the vaccination rates. So I have a strict policy on vaccinations in my day home. I only accept children with up-to-date vaccinations. I understand that some people make the decision not to vaccinate their children for personal reasons or due to immune compromise, due to health conditions or medication, or if they have a history of severe allergic reactions to previous vaccinations, and that's their choice. But due to a past experience for the child in my day home, it's just a policy of mine. I will, if you're not vaccinated, I'm sorry, but I'm not the right fit. And parents have the right to choose my day home or not. It's not by no means a personal attack on anybody who chooses not to vaccinate their kids. I just cannot go through what I went through before again. So it is, you have to have your vaccines up to date. And everybody's going to have a different policy on that. I tried to find out what daycare center, if there's a rule for daycare centers. All daycare centers seem to ask for your vaccination records and if they're up to date, but it's not clear whether they will not allow you there
Well,
if they're not.
from my daycare, they did allow people that weren't vaccinated.
Okay.
So I know it's like I do this kind of the same. I've never really been with one that hasn't been vaccinated. I do
Yeah.
ask, are they vaccinated or not? But like I haven't had one that's not vaccinated, but in the daycare I've had a few of them that wasn't vaccinated. So it's
Okay.
a totally different procedure for those guys kind
Yeah.
of thing, but
And I understand that the person the most at risk is the person that's not vaccinated. And that's okay. This is not a discussion whether vaccinations are good or bad, whatever. It's nothing like that. It's just a personal experience I've
yeah.
had. So whether I'm in the right or wrong, that's just the way I feel. So I am very strict on the vaccinations. And it is for that child's protection that, where my personal stance is coming from. I'm not trying to, I'm not saying that I'm protecting the rest of my daycare by not allowing unvaccinated kids in before anyone comes at me. This is not an attack
Well,
on
like
non-vaccinated or vaccinated
and
kids.
it's a controversial topic, right? And like I said,
Yeah,
it's the same thing. It's a personal choice. So if
yeah,
you do you, boo. At the end of the day, you do you. So if you don't want to get
exactly.
it done, that's okay. That's your choice, and everyone will respect your choice. But you also got to be okay with other people's choices at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're ever unsure if your child should attend their childcare due to symptoms, you can always check with your provider, call 811 or talk to your doctor. It's always best to err on the side of caution to prevent spread of illness to the other kids or the provider. As soon as your provider is sick, if they're sick enough, nobody's going to daycare
Yeah.
or the day home, right? So that's where you've got to make that call, I guess. We work with our parents. I'm sure you've had this too, like when parents call and say, "This is our symptoms. What do you think?" And then we say yes or no, whether we're comfortable with it or not, right? I'm kind of lucky. I don't have small kids at home anymore. So if my husband or my 25-year-old son is sick, that's on them,
Mhm.
right? So I don't have to worry about their health per se. I do obviously like about the other kids in the day home, but there again, by the time that the one kid's sick, they've all got it.
Yeah.
So we just kind of take it a little bit easier for the day. And I give all the other parents a heads up, like, hey, there's, this person has a cold. Heads up. It's coming to you soon, right? So, and
Especially
then
the
we've
parents,
moved
because
on.
they all catch it.
Yeah, it's funny how like a bad cold can go through and all the kids get it, all the parents get it, and we're like, oh, we're so sorry you guys are all so sick. And then we just skirt through because we're like our immune systems are fantastic. And
Yeah.
even as an asthmatic, like it helps that I run a lot now, but because I used to catch everything. A kid sneezed and I'm like, here we go. And every cold would turn into bronchitis. There was one time that I had bronchitis, a chest infection, and pneumonia. That's what I was diagnosed with all at the same time. I think I ended up closing for like 3 days. And I was like, this is brutal. Like, I can't, every time the kids have a cold, I was catching it. And I was like, no. So that's when I learned the emergency drink. And then I started running and just helping my lungs get better, I guess. So now it's been the last like 2 years. Well, no, last winter, like not the one that just went. I ended up getting really sick once, but the kids were sick the entire winter, like normal, right? Like on and off with the cold and whatever. And I'm like, I made it through with just one. This is amazing. This winter, knock on wood again. I will get so sick on Monday. I just know it now. But I I'm like, this is great. Like my immune system is built up again and it's great. And yeah, the providers were it goes either way, I guess.
Well, and like I'm the same way. I've had my parents for years, so a lot of them I have amazing parents. So like if they usually are they look at their kid and they know that they're not feeling well, they will keep them home. So
Yeah,
I'm pretty lucky that way, but I've never really had to close. Like my kids have been sick, but they're old enough I could just put them in their room. I could just go up and check on them, or I like FaceTime them all day on their iPad so I can
yeah,
see them. And then like I think there was only one time I caught the flu, and it was the 24-hour flu, and one parent was like, she doesn't feel very well this tonight. And I was like, don't worry, I haven't been feeling very well all day either. But I worked through it, and then I still
yeah,
continued to work through it because I was like, if they're feeling better, I'll take them because I already caught it. We already caught it. I was like, there's no point of closing when we already had it. But it was 24
yeah,
hours. So like me and one kid went down the same day, and then 24 hours, another kid went down. And then
yeah.
their grandparents went down and
Oh no.
everything. It was even like when we caught COVID. I was like, this family is going to be the one that catches COVID because they were so tight-knit about COVID. They didn't want
Yeah,
to go out, they didn't want to do anything. And sure enough, they brought it in and it took everyone and the grandparents out. And I was like, I'm
no.
sorry. It wasn't me that gave it to you though. Like we would have never
Yeah,
caught it if it wasn't. But I was like, oh, I still worked a whole week on COVID because I didn't know it was COVID. I just thought it was a cold.
same. I actually so the I've had COVID twice, possibly three times, but the third time I'm like, I'm not testing at this point. But the first time I got it, it was before it was actually like a big thing. So like a 2020. So the end of January, I was so sick. I ended up having to close for a few days. And the only reason that my doctor even associated it with COVID after was because I lost my sense of smell and my sense of taste. And I was like, this, and I was so, so sick. And he's like, this is so weird. We don't really know what it is. And then the next time I went to see him when COVID had come out, he's like, yeah, so we think you had COVID. And I was like, what? It wasn't even a thing till March. He's like, it wasn't publicly known until March, but it was still, there was a few, and I hadn't traveled or anything, excuse me, but one of my day home families had traveled. So we think maybe they brought it back and they were asymptomatic or for whatever reason. And then I caught it. And I did still work through some of it until it was so bad that the parents actually were like, we're just gonna stay home. And I was like, it's okay, I can still work. They're like, we're just gonna stay home. I was like, okay. And I felt so bad, but part of doing our job good because when we're sick and the kids are all sick, we just take it easy. Parents can send their kids in their pajamas or whatever, and we
Yep.
just have a totally chill day. And we have soup for lunch, and we all just kind of like relax. And that's one of the benefits of a day home, I will say, versus a daycare center, is that home away from home feel. So if the kid just wants to lay down and doesn't really feel like playing, they can do that. So when the entire group is sick and they're all just kind of chilling out, relaxing, as much as yes, it would be nice in a perfect world if they could just be at home with their mom, but they're with us. We cuddle them all day and we make sure that they feel as loved as they were if they were at home with mom, right? The bonus of being in a day home in a small setting is that still family experience. Whereas at a daycare center, if your kid wants to lay down on the floor all day, that's not an option. If that's how they're feeling, they're sent home. So it's kind of nice for parents within a day home that we can have that flexibility. Now, obviously, not all day homes can, depending, like I said earlier, if they have small children themselves, or if they themselves have an autoimmune disease or whatever, they can't always allow symptoms into the center. But for some of us, big relief for parents that they're not missing so much work
Yeah,
because they're sick.
exactly. And like the kids also turn to you as that extra person that they know they can just go to when they're not feeling well. Not that we
100%.
want all the kids to be sick in our care because
No,
that's a
exactly.
lot.
Yeah.
But at least they know that even if mom had to go to work for half a day and then come
Yeah.
and get you early. Like I have a little right now where mom there's just a lot going on for them. Like I don't know it because like I tell my kids because one's like, why are they doing this? I'm like, I don't know. Like it's not my business. If they want to tell me, they could tell me, but I'm not digging in to find it out. But like he's
Yeah.
going through a lot of stuff, and so he cries sometimes, occasionally for mom. Well,
Yeah.
now he knows that at least he could come in and he'll just give me a hug. So instead of crying for mom, he'll just come give me a hug and be like, I miss my mommy,
Yeah.
right? And then it's like, you're allowed to miss your mommy. That's okay. Like, do you? But like, it's that bond too that
Yeah.
they get. So they know that yes, mom's there, but at the end of the day, there's someone else there.
Exactly.
Daycare, they're
And that,
secreting you into a new room by yourself, waiting for mom
yeah.
to come get you.
It's just that personal side of it, right? And not that we're trying to replace moms, like by no means. I've raised my, I don't need that again. We're not trying to be their mom, but
No
it's so
one's gonna
nice.
be as good as their mom.
No,
No one
exactly.
will.
No, it's just, it's so nice for them to have that comfort in somebody else. And it's good for kids to experience that too, that they can have a closeness with other people, other than their parents, right? It
Yep.
gives them another like sense of security and place they can go when they just, like you say, when they just need a hug, when they just, because they're still so little, right? Like there are times that just randomly throughout the day, they just miss their mom or their dad or, their dog sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And they just need that comfort. And definitely being a day home, it allows us to give them that comfort. We don't have such a large group. And I remember when I worked at the daycare, it was it was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. And there was lots of parts of it that I thought were great. But it wasn't until I opened my day home that I realized what the daycare center missed, right? That personal connection, that family feel. So I think, it's especially when it comes to the kids being sick, being in a day home, it's just a lot more comforting for the parents, I think, too, knowing that they have someone there that they can get that snuggle from when they need it and
Well,
helps
and
their
the
kid feel
parents
better.
knowing you. So knowing that you
Yes.
would give that extra care, right? Whereas like in a daycare, there's so many people that go in and out of the room. There's also so many people where they don't have the same beliefs in illnesses, right?
Yeah.
Just like getting fall. Like some people, oh, get up, you're fine, kind
Yeah.
of deal, right? So, and then it's like where at least the parents know you here, they know you would give them the hug. You know they take care of them, you do the steps, you do everything for them.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't know anywhere else.
Exactly. I mean, navigating the whole cold and flu season and now the measles season. I'm actually so shocked that that came back. And I mean, there has been when I was doing the research for this, there has been other like minor outbreaks of it in Canada and kind of everywhere. And it seems to definitely be when the vaccination declines, then it comes back. So when people, it's like a trend people go through. We're not going to vaccinate our kids because it's bad or whatever. Then all of a sudden the illnesses come back. And then it's like people are like, no, no, we're going to vaccinate. So let's get rid of that. And then it just seems to go like up and down and up and down. And we see the statistically what the issue is.
Well, if I remember correctly, so don't quote me on this because it could be a wrong vaccine I'm talking about, but when I had my son, I had to do an updated version, and I think it was the MMR. Is the MMR the one that goes in the back of your arm?
Yes, yes. So
Okay,
that's
so
measles, mumps, and rubella,
so
right?
that one has to be done every 10 years.
Does it really?
Yeah, because I had to get it done when I was pregnant with my son. When he had his first 3 months or 2 months vaccines, I had to get it because it was over 10 years.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I did not know that.
So
Okay,
when I
well,
had my daughter, I didn't need it because it wasn't within the 10 years. It was almost like a tetanus shot, they told me.
oh, interesting. I was actually thinking I'm going to be contacting the pharmacy. I actually just got an update of like other shots, like your hepatitis and I think tetanus was one of it because I took a trip to Mexico last year. And so they're like, what shots do you have? I'm like, couldn't tell you. Like if you can't bring it up on my file, I don't know. Like so anyway, so yeah, so I got updates on some shots and I'm thinking I might go and see if I can get that because I mean as providers, maybe that's something that providers should be looking into. Like what are your if any of our vaccines are outdated or need to be up, given again, whatever, need to help with the whole not spreading the measles situation.
Yeah, that's what I said. Don't quote me for sure, but it was one of the ones that went in the back of your arm. So I'm pretty sure it is the MMR that they gave me, and they told me it has to be done. It's like a tetanus shot. It has to be done every 10 years.
Interesting.
Because like I've
Well,
had all my shots because my mom has hep B. So the moment I
okay.
came out of my mom, I had to have my hepatitis and all that too. But they told me that
Yeah,
MMR has to be like the tetanus every 10 years or so.
they need to make stuff like that more well known. And that me sitting here, maybe it is more well known. I just don't know it, but like stuff like that, I feel like your doctor should be informing you and having your chart, hey, you need this update or whatever, right? Like,
Alberta just went digital not too long ago, right?
yes,
Whereas like in 2017 when I had my kid, he had like just the paper that came out that said your
yeah,
shots. When I was born, it just had the book that you would fill out with all your shots. So now it's
yeah,
all digital. So I don't know if they're not transferring it properly too to show that shots you had.
yeah. So as far back as I could go was it went back to, I think it was like 2006 or something like that when the meningitis shot came out. So you had to be like under a certain age and over a certain age to get that shot, right? Because I was so young when I had my kids, I got to have the shot too. And actually, the person doing the injection was like, this is the first time I've had a mom and her children fit the age group to have this shot. And I was like, well, good for me. But that's the first one that shows up on my record.
Well,
So,
and because my one's from Montreal, because I took the healthcare course, right? So I had to have the TB test done, and they never had any record. So I had to bring in my record book from Montreal to show
oh
them
no,
everything that I've already had up to date because you're working in
yeah,
healthcare, right? So you have to make sure
yeah,
that you have all your stuff up to date. And then they never put it into a file, right? Whereas now everything's put digitally, so you don't get a copy.
right.
You could just go call 811 and they get it.
Yeah,
So I wonder too if that's not happening and being in the process, many people probably don't know that every 10 years or so you're supposed to go get your MMR done.
that's true. And for me, being from the UK, everything prior to being here would not be in my digital file anyway.
Yeah,
And so
unless
trusting
you
that my
put it
parents
there.
kept it, yeah, I'm guessing my parents do not have any of that information anymore. But yeah, it'd be handy if they did, for sure, because I know that we needed it when we moved here. I think I was 11 when we moved here, so we definitely needed all that information when we immigrated. But I don't know what happened to it since then, I guess. So who knows? Maybe it's something everyone should be looking into your what immunizations do you have? And it's time to update if you need to. And because as providers, that's our job, right? To keep the kids safe. That's it for Day Home Divas this week.
Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at DayHomeDivas, on TikTok at dayhome.divas, and join our Facebook group, Day Home Divas. Hope you join us again next week.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.